Get 40 to 60% of your income off your 1040 tax return. In this episode, I'm going to address the question how to lower the amount of taxes you owe. I've been asked this question thousands of times in the 45 plus years that I've been a financial strategist and retirement planning specialist. So get ready to gain insights into opportunities that maybe you never knew existed before. My name's Doug Andrew, and I've been a financial strategist and a retirement planning specialist for more than 45 years. And I've helped thousands of people save unnecessary tax on their IRAs and 401ks because they were putting off paying taxes until retirement, thinking they were going to be in a lower tax bracket. So I'm going to give several examples in this episode, but let me start out with this story. We had a couple in California. Now, California has one of the highest state income tax rates on top of the federal tax rate in the entire nation. And this couple had saved $4 million in IRAs and 401ks. When they came to us, I said, hey, you've done a pretty good job accumulating money. And they thumped themselves on the chest and said, yep, based upon the rate of return that we're getting, we think we can take out about $160,000 a year out of our IRAs and 401ks. They were rolling them over into IRAs and be able to retire on $160,000. On top of that, we have another $40,000 that it was his wife, who was a school teacher, got in a pension. And so they were sort of high-fiving. We got $200,000 a year of income. And I said, way to go. I said, now, you want me to be honest or gentle? They said, well, be honest. I said, you've done a great job, but, Uncle Sam's been your partner on this thing. All of this $200,000 of income is showing up on the front page of your 1040 tax return. And they went, well, is there another way? And I go, yes. Now, you're going to learn in this episode how we performed a strategic rollout. And we got the money out over a 5-year period. But the sum of everything is this. We moved $120,000 of that $160,000, okay, off of their 1040 tax return. Now, this isn't a tax loophole. The IRS knows they are receiving that $120,000. They're still getting $200,000 total income, $160,000 from this $4 million nest egg. But now, $120,000 of it is tax-free. We save them in a 33% combined federal and state income tax bracket, $40,000 a year in taxes. Between the husband and the wife, one of them is likely to live 25 years. So in 25 years times 40,000, we save that couple $1 million of unnecessary tax by using the strategy I'm going to show you in this episode, because we got 60% of their income off of their 1040 tax return. And the IRS, they know that they're receiving this money, but they don't even need to audit them because where they reposition their money has been grandfathered in the Internal Revenue Code for over 107 years. It's a sacred tax-free cash cow. So learn here as we proceed. So this couple that came to us with $4 million of yet to be taxed IRAs and 401ks. So not only did this couple that came to us with $4 million in yet to be taxed IRAs and 401ks, over a 5-year period, they transferred out about 60% of that into a vehicle that would be tax-free. In other words, out of the $200,000 of income that they were planning on getting, we transferred out $120,000 of that off of their 1040 tax return. But I didn't tell you the rest of the story. Do you know that from the time they actually did retire and start taking money, they doubled the 4 million to 8 million in about 7.5 years? If you understand the rule of 72, that's because they've been averaging 10% tax-free. You're going to see where and how. But now they have 8 million, earning 10% tax-free. What's 10% of 8 million? $800,000 a year. How much more is 800,000 than the 200,000? And that was showing up on their tax return. This couple only needs about 300,000 a year at the most. The other 500,000 they're earning is just compounding and growing. They will never outlive their money. Where they had it before they came to us was being taxed to death. They were getting 200,000, but they were only netting about 140,000 to buy gas and groceries. This is a huge difference, and I'm going to share with you how this may apply to you, whether you have 500,000, $1 million, or $10 million. Now, the story of this couple, where we got their $4 million out of their IRAs and 401ks over a 4-5 year period, is actually 4 years and 1 day. And then they didn't need the money, and it doubled to 8 million. That story is in my book called The Laser Fund, in addition to 3 or 4 other stories to help you understand this concept and lower the amount of taxes that you owe. And you'll understand how many times we've repositioned money that was in what we call the taxable bucket. It's their investments yet to be taxed IRAs and 401ks, and strategically moved over 40, 50, 60% to the tax-free bucket, which I call the Laser Fund. And so at the end of the episode, I'll give you a link to claim your free copy of this 300-page book. You contribute a portion towards the shipping and handling. I cover the rest of that, okay? So stay with me here. So the question is, how do we do this? It's usually over what we call a 5-year strategic rollout. Sometimes we go 6 or 7 years, but most of the time we get money out and the tax is over and done with over a 5-year period. Now, it may hurt temporarily to pay the tax, but people usually are extremely glad in the long run because they would have paid far more in taxes had they strung it out. In fact, I have a software that shows people the darkness of the night, so to speak. If they continue to leave money in IRAs and 401ks, deferring until maybe age 72, and then they start taking required minimum distributions, which is the worst advice I've ever heard. And they string it out during their lifetime and their spouse's lifetime, and then they leave behind whatever they can to their kids, and the kids have to pay tax on it within 10 years now after inheriting their parents' IRAs and 401ks. Did you know that? No, you would be shocked at the amount of taxes you will pay by stringing it out versus getting the taxes over and done with sooner than later. It's usually at least half, but usually like 20% of the tax that you'll pay versus continuing to compound the problem and having to continue to grow in a tax-deferred environment. So the second step is critical. It's to take the net after-tax money after paying tax on the IRA or 401k distribution. You don't have to live on it. You reposition that money into something that's going to be tax-free from now on. My favorite vehicle is called the Laser Fund because it's tax-free as it continues to grow at nice rates of return, usually 7 to 10%. But more importantly, when I ultimately die, it doubles or triples oft times in value and reimburses any of the tax that I did pay by many, many fold. Now, the third part of a strategy I can't apply to everybody, but many times we can offset some or all of the tax by creating new deductions or resurrecting deductions that people had been killing by paying off their real estate the wrong way, for example. These stories are in the book, so stay with me and you'll be able to read and study these and be able to relate to your particular set of circumstances how this can help you. So again, when people ask how to lower the amount of taxes that I'm paying, one of the obvious ways to me as a tax strategist is, move your money from taxed as earned investments or tax deferred investments, because they're going to be taxed sooner or later when you take the money out, to totally tax free. And people go, well, what's tax-free? They may think that I'm talking about municipal bonds. No, municipal bonds are tax-free, but frankly, there's a lot of municipalities that have had to file bankruptcy in recent years, and the rate of return is pretty low. So I don't like municipal bonds myself. Some people may think I'm talking about a Roth. Roths are okay, but I've never owned a Roth, IRA, or 401k, and I never will, because my favorite vehicle, which I call the Laser Fund, has the 2 benefits of a Roth and 4 additional benefits that Roths will never have. But the key thing that I want you to understand first is that if you can increase your rate of return from the typical 3.5% to 4% that people earn when they have their money in a volatile market through the ups and downs, and their emotions get involved, and people are only earning maybe 3 or 4% on the average, which is what Dalbar says. The average retiree only is earning about 3.5% on IRAs and 401ks if their money is in the market because they're buying and selling at the wrong times. So if you're earning 4, I can show you how you can predictably, more safely earn 8. How much better is 8 than 4? It's 100%, okay? It's twice as much, but 8% is tax-free. 4% is taxable. Most people have money in yet to be taxed IRAs and 401ks. So even in a 25% tax bracket, you pull out 4%, let's say on $1 million, that's 40 grand. You're only netting 30,000 to buy gas and groceries. I have many times on my laser fund earned 9 and 10. How much more is 9 than 3? It's 300% more. So if you can increase the rate of return and convert to tax-free, it makes all the difference in the world. And this is how you can get 40 to 60% of your income, especially during your golden years, off of your tax return and over into what I call the tax-free bucket. So let me connect the dots for you. Going back to the example, I've been able to take many people, like the couple that I started out with, from the highest tax bracket to a 0% tax bracket in 5 years. There's a story in my most recent best-selling book, The Laser Fund, that talks about a couple in California that we did this with. Now, we not only get rid of the taxes sooner than later, but we convert to tax-free, and we also increase the rate of return. The reason why I love the Laser Fund is because the average person in America with money in the market in IRAs and 401ks is only earning 3.5% or 4%. So what I've taught you in this episode is that you can safely earn more like 8% tax-free. So on every $1 million, you can get $80,000 of income a year without depleting principal versus $40,000 before tax. If that's an IRA or 401k, a 4% payout is not netting you 4. After paying tax, even in a 25% bracket, it's only netting you maybe 3% or $30,000 on every $1 million. I've shown you how many times I've earned as high as 8, 9, and 10%. How much more is 9% than 3%? It's 3 times as much. It's 300% more. It's the same money, but the money, every $1 million can generate $90,000 of tax-free income versus $30,000 of after-tax 401k income. We do this all the time. This couple, because their money, they were able to take $4 million and strategically roll that out, and they let it grow over the next 7.5 years, and it doubled again to $8 million. We have dramatically increased their cash flow. They will never outlive their money. So learn how you can do this and how this strategy may apply in your particular set of circumstances and how to lower the amount of taxes that you owe. Read this book. Now, I'll pay for the book. You simply contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. Here's how to claim your free copy. If you go to laserfund, L-A-S-E-R, fund.com, and contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling, I'll cover the rest of that. And I'll pay for the book, and I'll fire you out this 300-page book. It contains all kinds of charts and graphs and also 62 actual client stories to empower you so that you can get 40 to 60% more of income in retirement. And instead of having all this money showing up on your 1040 tax return, get 40 to 60% of it off of your 1040 tax return. The IRS will still know you're receiving it, but they're going to know it's tax-free. It's not even worth auditing because it's been a sacred tax-free cash cow for over 100 years in the Internal Revenue Code. Learn why when you read this book.